Welcome to the Deep Dive. This week, like so many of you, our focus has been captured by the absolutely heartbreaking news of these recent floods.
Yeah, really difficult news.
We've gathered quite a stack of sources, news reports, analyses, firsthand accounts, and our goal today is really to unpack all of that. We want to give you a clear picture of the scale, the human stories, and what these events in Texas and the Carolinas might mean more broadly.
And it's important to see, I think, that these aren't just, isolated tragedies. They fit into a much larger evolving pattern. It really makes you ask that uncomfortable question, doesn't it? Is this the new normal for our climate?
That really is the core question. Okay, let's start digging into this. First, the Texas event. Just shocking. July 4th, Texas Hill Country near San Antonio. A flash flood, but the speed, the intensity. Sources like Le Monde and La Presse said months worth of rain in a single day.
It's almost impossible to wrap your head around that kind of volume, and the immediate result in Texas was just catastrophic. We're talking at least 51 people confirmed dead, 15 of them children.
15 children?
Yes. And around 20 people still missing. Many were young girls from a summer tam caught in the flood path. Survivors talked about hearing a loud roar, then water rushing in. That tells you how sudden it was. No time to react, really.
Just terrifying.
Completely. We saw buildings just swept off foundations, bridges gone, roads turned into these violent rivers, and those amateur videos on X, just chilling. Muddy water, tossing cars around like toys, carrying debris everywhere. Total chaos.
And while all this was happening in Texas, hundreds of miles away, another disaster unfolding. Tropical Depression Chantal hit North and South Carolina.
No.
Widespread flooding there too, right? Homes underwater in Chapel Hill, roads blocked near Fayetteville.
Exactly. A parallel event, different cause, but similar devastation on the ground in many areas. They got, 12 to 23 centimeters of rain in places. You saw posts from @WeatherNation, at FactMatter 2024 on X showing the extent of it.
12 to 23 centimeters, that's roughly 5 to 9 inches. A huge amount.
It is. But what's really critical here, the context, is that these communities in the Carolinas, they were still reeling, still recovering from Hurricane Helene back in September 2024. That storm killed at least 91 people.
Right, Helene was devastating.
So there's been absolutely no break for them. This isn't just one disaster. It's like a relentless wave hitting people who are already down. Our usual way of thinking about recovery just doesn't apply here.
That compounding effect you mentioned, it's brutal because it goes beyond the numbers, doesn't it? Think about the human cost, the emotional toll. That summer camp in Texas, parents just waiting, desperately waiting for news, as the reports say. 500 rescuers, 14 helicopters out there in really tough conditions, debris, more rain threatening. What must that feel like for those families?
It's unimaginable helplessness. Francifo had this quote from a parent, just gut-wrenching. "We sent our daughters to have fun, not to live through a nightmare."
Oh, terrible.
And you see a similar, though maybe less acute, sense of despair in the Carolinas, people losing everything again so soon after Helene. The images show it clearly, families salvaging what little they can, knowing they just went through this. There's a fatigue setting in, a kind of disaster fatigue.
That recurrence.
Yeah.
Especially, as you said, in the Carolinas. Helene hit Buncombe County near Asheville so hard in 2024, 30 deaths there alone. Now Chantal. It makes you question our preparedness, We thought people on X, like at Mighty Muffins, pointing out that forecasts seem to underestimate the rainfall again. So are models just not keeping up? Or are we not listening properly to the warnings we do get?
I think it's probably a combination of factors. The forecasting is incredibly complex, especially for these intense localized downpours, but also there's the sheer emotional weight. Think about July 4th in Texas. A day for celebration twisted into sadness and fear, as former Ambassador Charles C. Adams Jr. noted. And in the Carolinas, people barely starting to rebuild, now packing bags again, evacuating again. If you look at the hashtag NCwx, hashtag on X, you see amazing community spirit, people helping neighbors. But you also see the exhaustion. It highlights this huge systemic problem.
Yeah.
How do communities, how do emergency services possibly cope with back-to-back hits like this? There's no breathing room.
Which brings us to that bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because these feel less and less like freak events, don't they?
Yeah.
Experts keep pointing towards climate change.
Correct.
Warmer Gulf waters fueling stronger storms, making this kind of extreme rainfall, the norm.
Exactly. The science is becoming clearer on this. Climatologist Andra Garner explained it well. Warmer oceans mean more energy and more moisture available for storms.
Yeah.
For every degree Celsius the atmosphere warms, it can hold about 7% more water vapor. That directly translates to heavier rainfall potential.
7% more.
Yeah.
That adds up quickly.
It really does.
Yeah.
So even a tropical depression like Chantal can dump enormous amounts of rain, and we saw it with Helene too, a Category 4 storm. Climate change is essentially rewriting the rules for these weather systems. It's not just about isolated storms, it's about the whole system becoming more volatile, more extreme.
And that systemic change runs right up against our infrastructure, doesn't it? After Chantal in the Carolinas, 400 roads closed, 700,000 homes without power. It sounds grimly familiar after Helene left 2.7 million in the dark. Is our infrastructure, roads, power grids, drainage built for this new reality? It seems like maybe not.
That's a huge question, and look at Texas. Even with weather warnings out, the sheer intensity seemed unexpected for many on the ground. It raises serious points about, how effective are our alert systems, how resilient are our communities, our buildings, our storm drains. A Francine report made a good point too. The U.S. is seeing more types of climate change. It's hard to plan and prepare when, as they said, everything seems to hit at once. You're stretched thin dealing with multiple overlapping threats.
And inevitably, this spills over into the political arena. The Texas governor pledged funds for rebuilding, which is needed, of course. But then came the criticism was enough invested in prevention beforehand. It feels like we're often chasing disasters, not getting ahead of them.
That's a recurring theme. And you're right, the politics are unavoidable. Hurricane Helene's handling was a major point of contention during the 2024 presidential campaign, remember?
I do. Lots of back and forth.
Trump and Biden were trading blame. North Carolina's Governor Roy Cooper said then, "This is a time to put politics aside."
A sentiment many would share, I think.
Yes, but with Chantal hitting so soon after, those tensions are clearly still there. Some users on X were directly accusing authorities of not learning the lessons from Helene fast enough. It just shows how these events touch everything. Climate science, yes, but also social inequality, infrastructure funding, political priorities. It's all interconnected.
But amidst all this tragedy and complexity, you do see these incredible moments of human spirit. That solidarity. Those 500 rescuers in Texas working nonstop, the Red Cross, volunteers handing out food, clothes in the Carolinas. It's genuinely inspiring.
It really is. And that's reflected online too, isn't it? Hashtags like hashtag Texas Strong, hashtag NCwx on X. They aren't just labels. They represent real people sharing vital information in real time. Where to find clean water in Chapel Hill, which shelters are open, organizing help.
Yeah.
Online fundraising shows how communities even when official systems are overwhelmed. That grassroots response is powerful.
But the road ahead. Rebuilding. It's daunting. Officials are talking years for recovery in Texas. And as you pointed out, some places in the Carolinas haven't even recovered from Helene. Lamont mentioned entire neighborhoods in Asheville still in ruins from last year.
Still in ruins.
So how do you rebuild under constant threat when the next disaster might be just months away?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? And it's forcing a really necessary shift in thinking among experts and planners. It's not just about building back the same way. There's talk of sponge cities, designing urban areas to absorb water naturally, with more green spaces, permeable pavements.
Interesting concept.
Better, more localized, maybe more urgent-sounding weather alerts. But fundamentally, it requires a deeper change, a mindset shift. We have to accept collectively that these extreme events aren't rare outliers anymore. They're becoming a feature of our climate.
Accepting that reality is the first step, I suppose.
Right. And that acceptance needs to drive concrete action. Serious, sustained investment in resilient infrastructure, not just patching things up. Reimagining how and where we build, educating communities about the new risks. And in the immediate term, you see those calls on X for donations to the Red Cross and other groups. That direct support is still desperately needed right now.
Absolutely. These floods are a stark, tragic reminder of nature's power, the immense human cost, but also that incredible resilience we see. It really underscores the urgency, doesn't it? Rethinking our relationship with climate and valuing that solidarity that emerges in crisis.
And maybe a final thought for you, listening. These events, hitting back to back with such intensity, they really push us beyond just adaptation. It's not just about building higher walls or better drains. It forces us to fundamentally reconsider our whole relationship with the planet's systems and to grapple with the collective responsibility that comes with understanding these changes are happening, and they are happening now.
A powerful thought to leave us with. We encourage you to reflect on what this deep dive has sparked for you. And if you are able to help, organizations like the Red Cross are actively collecting donations for the victims. Thank you for joining us today, for digging into these sources with us, and for your engagement.
Don't forget to subscribe and like it gives us strength.